Okay, welcome. 1 minute. I don't know what that one is. Okay, so welcome back. This is the second part of this integration. I have outlined very roughly. I don't have a graphic here. I probably should have a graphic here, and well, it's just a whole bunch of words. So I'm not sure how to represent that. This second part is basically you've made the decision to watch this. Okay, this is no longer about the person who shared this with you. It was their decision. Okay, you have made the decision. You're going to watch this now. I'm going to integrate this, and at the end of this part, second part, you're going to make a decision whether you want to share this forwards with another person. This is entirely up to you. Okay, so you're going to watch this, and it's got to do with your values, not to do with the values of the previous person who thought you'd like it. We acknowledge that. The fact that you're watching the second part means they were right. Well done to them. Oh, by the way, you should have probably thanked them as well. And at the end of this, you might want to thank them at some point. Okay, so it's all to do with the faith that they had and the faith that you have by the end of this that somebody else is going to like this and think it's interesting or be useful and informative to them in a way which is more significant than just, oh, just have a look at this thing. No, more significant because it involves money flow, the money that was given to you, your own money if you share it with more people, and because of the content, we're talking about rather significant social change. So I'm going to outline how this social change occurs in a way which gives us a reason why we're doing it. Why have I spent years, 10 years teaching and coming up with ABC state? Why was I interested in self-organizing? Why did I develop, after I did that, the first thing I developed with adults was the action cycle. Okay? Why did I do that? And it was successful, but it lacked something. It lacked a money flow system. This is the most recent thing that I developed. This has taken, 8 years since its inception, 2 years development producing the app that you're using. Okay, on a shoestring budget. It's very challenging. And why have I come up with that? This XQ I actually came up with from education. That arose in my experience of education, and it just gave, this is the thing that I would like to spend the rest of my life doing, okay, because it's the most interesting thing, is to do with how mathematics, how we do any mathematics, and where our thinking is involved in when we do mathematics. And I think it's like the most interesting area, and I want to spend the rest of my life doing it. But in order to do that, I need to have some kind of money flow, and nobody's paying for this. I can go to university departments, mathematics departments. Not that I have, but I've looked at them. I have at least looked at them. And if you look at the PhD students, they're looking at either pure mathematics or they're looking at some kind of application of mathematics to physics. Okay? And there's nobody doing, there's a few other people doing the philosophy of mathematics. But again, I'm not that interested in philosophy. I'm interested in the psychological process of doing mathematics. So mathematics is the map of our psychology. So it is mathematics, it's just how we're reflecting on mathematics, which is related to the zero social distance and basically had a tendency to Buddhism, which was basically meditation, which is to be aware of one's thinking, one's physical state, experience, and emotional states, and just becoming aware of that. The basic methodology there is meditation, which I think is like the control method, which is equivalent to the methods that we've used traditionally in science for objects and applied to people, misapplied to people. And I came up with this thing when I started doing a PhD just this last year before, and I failed to persuade my supervisors to understand and appreciate that even though they're in information systems, they actually do have to apply a little bit of reflexive condition to the aspect of their reading, not just in some kind of abstract theoretical way. Okay, so all these processes, I've called them meta methods. Okay, meta methods, because in academia you have to label them appropriately, and in academia there are things called meta theories. I don't know if you've heard of things like, in this area of social sciences, postmodernism. Postmodernism was kind of confederation of theorists, mostly French, who, like Derrida, took an extreme subjective perspective on their thinking and reflected on their thinking and deconstructed everything that they thought. And by deconstructing it, it meant that they could not pursue academia in the way that traditionally has been a positivist method. So when you're, for example, if they start like Foucault talking about, I don't know, the 18th century, or we're talking about Rousseau, we can't understand Rousseau. The only time when we're reading anything about Rousseau is it's our understanding of Rousseau, okay? And it's not Rousseau, obviously, okay? And it's just that, okay? So postmodernism goes, well, we can't really appreciate what Rousseau understood because Rousseau lived in his period, in his time. All we can do is kind of like guess as to what he's talking about. But basically, any ideas that I've got are mine, and it's informed by my own cultural heritage. Okay, and so that's why it's good to be aware, entering into some kind of metacognitive state or reflexive condition, to be aware, this is who I am, this is how I think, and even the subconscious biases that I have. So when I'm actually talking about Rousseau, I'm not just going, oh, Rousseau, that's what I think. Oh, that's true. It's like, okay, I kind of get, I think this is what Rousseau's talking about. It might be, it might not. And how does that relate to what I think is going on? Okay, so Rousseau's talking about society, I'm talking about society, and you're thinking and living in society. And it's to do with how do we correlate this, okay? And we need to have reflexive methods, okay, or I call them meta-methods. So academia might have meta-theories. So the most recent meta-theory that I'm aware of is critical realism, or its full name by its author, Bhaskar, transcendental, dialectical, critical realism. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's in order to try to escape from the traditions, the hierarchy, the hegemony of our traditional ways of understanding culture and society. Okay, so he's doing a lot of philosophy. He calls himself an under-laborer, okay, for social science. Right. We're only going to have, maybe less time than this. I've just talked a little bit too much about that. Now, why? Okay, I'm just giving you a little bit more validation for it. That probably should have been included in the first part. Why? Why have I spent my lifetime exploring these different systems? And I've not been doing it just because it's academically interesting. I've been doing it because, I've engaged kids in classrooms, and it's a real problem. And I've recently gone back to school, and it's still a factory. It's still people being treated, I think, badly. And the people that are going into doing teaching, and the teachers that are there, quite often genuinely want to form relationships with the students. And it's recognised by the profession that establishing good relationships with students is essential for good practice. You can't really inform somebody about something if they're blocked off. Their attitude is negative. So you kind of want to encourage them personally to look at whatever you're interested in, the maths or the physics or the chemistry, in a slightly new or interesting way. And so these kids are being, as you know, your own kids perhaps, that they are being bombarded by incredible levels of advertising, and their attention is just drawn to social media and computer games that are incredibly stimulating. Incredibly stimulating. And then to go into a class and sit down, and here we go, we're going to learn about some specific part of language, or a bit of maths, or some geographic part of some rock formation millions of years ago. It's just like, what? And it's presented as such a slow method. And basically, they have to learn it. They have to somehow or other come to terms with it. And that process, I think, teachers acknowledge that basically it's much better when the kid's online and they kind of want to move forward. So I don't mean online electronically. I mean present and wanting to learn. And in fact, most kids do have that kind of state, as you know. It's just to do with whether they want to learn the thing that you're showing them. That's the trick. And it's whether there's a whole point, the whole point, which I probably should have made clear, is all to do with, in fact, this is what a classroom normally looks like. And students are organised like that. Nice and well organised, but I think it's more like this, where everybody, and there's groups of people, and their attention might or might not be focused. And the trick is somehow or other to make that happen. So a C state is this, an A state is more like this, well, B state is more like this, and an A state is they are actually all organised, almost like this. And they're all organised, self-organising, and as a result, the whole thing moves forwards. Okay, this one's kind of going that way, this one's kind of going that way, the attention's kind of going that way. This is meant to be going forwards. It's meant to be, but you know, a lot of people daydream, a lot of people not paying attention, a lot of people dragging, some people are opposing, so on and so forth. So actually, that's quite a nice thing. For the next integration, I hope I remember. That's A, that's B, that's C. And as you can tell in the way that we're organising this, we're shifting through to A phase. Okay, and hopefully the next section, in fact, I should put C, B, then A, to indicate it's going that way towards the future. Right. Okay, so what am I attempting to do here? We're trying to integrate. We're trying to, instead of, I don't know, I'm telling you about it, but what we want to do is actually practice these things. We want to practice these things as much as possible. Now, you're practicing this. You are part of this organic sharing. Somebody's given this to you. And you're going, oh, okay, I'll have a look at it. Oh, okay, it's interesting enough. Here you are, you're watching this, and you're going to make a decision whether you want to share it. Now that is basically like you're here, let's say. Okay? Yeah, okay, there. And you haven't decided yet whether you want to share this forwards or not. Okay, you haven't decided that. Now this particular moment is critical, or this period, the second part, is critical whether you go, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I've gone into, because I've just talked about this in another video, I've kind of talked about it a lot. I kind of want to go into it again, okay? But I want to distance myself from that process. That person's given this to you, and you're going to be making a decision for another person. Okay, I want to make this useful for me. Okay, well, that'll be the next part, maybe. Okay, what if I managed to synthesize or gone into in a little bit of detail with these other videos? Okay, I'm going to have to do it. Right. The traditional way is to think about it chronologically. I produce this video. I then share it with somebody. And they share it with you. Okay? Well, there might be several people. Fine. And eventually you get it, and you're watching this. And then you're thinking, oh, well, there'll be somebody in the future. Let's say you do share that forwards, and then they'll watch it. That's the chronological sequence. That's the chronological sequence. Okay? That makes sense. You understand that? It's good. However, what's actually happening is that relative to you all, actually, I'm at the front, okay, because I've kind of created this, and you're getting a series of videos that have all been done. So the person after that, the first person to watch that, they know that I've actually gone down this path. The video has been created, and they're following, and they think they're following me, and it's all been done. In the same way that you think that the person who shared this with you actually has already verified this. And they have. The reason why they shared this with you is because not only the first part, but the second part is good enough that they've shared this with you. So they've been through this. They actually know what I'm about to say. They've been to the end of this and made a positive decision. Now, we haven't got there yet. But you think that they've been through this and they've made a positive decision. And they have. And in fact, the person that you think is in the future, it's just imaginary at this moment, will be following you because you will make a decision, if you wish to share it with them, and then they'll be watching this at some point behind you. So we have this kind of chronological, and then we have this kind of, I'm not sure what to call it, this is kind of like an imaginary sequence. kairos. I'm going to use the word kairos because it's something to do with our time and our experience through anything. Now that's a chronological, it reverses. Okay, so right now you're watching this, and the person in the future that you haven't shared this with, obviously, you haven't shared it with them. So they can't be here with us watching this. But once you do share it with them, right, they will be thinking, oh, I'm following the person who shared this with me. Okay, and they'll be watching that first part, and they'll be thinking, oh yeah, and you will be in the future relative to them. Okay, you've watched this and decided to share it with them, and that'll be true. Okay, that'll be true. And so there's this funny temporal shift in our perspectives, or multiple perspectives that we have. We have a temporal dislocation. Okay, and it flips. And the traditional forms basically emphasize the person who's talking. I'm the author, I'm talking, I'm leading, because I'm at the front. But actually, I'm at the back. And the most important people are the people at the front. And that's what you do when I was teaching kids. It's the kids, right? Why? Because they're going to be the ones that are out there in the world, and they're going to be building bridges, or healing people, or producing music for people, whatever it is. Okay, they're going to, or literally that evening, they're going to go home and they're going to talk to their parents about what they learned at school. Hopefully, okay, if it's been interesting and engaging. Okay, so there's something happening in the future. So that's you. Okay, relative to me, you're the person that's important, and I'm in the past. And yet, because I'm the one that's talking, I'm directing it towards you. And quite often, traditionally, you think, oh, the video's already been done, I'm just going to follow along dutifully and just be passive. No, the trick about this is being active. Okay, how do we shift from this to this? Well, that's what we're doing. That's what these things are doing, and that's what the money flow does. The money flow, actually, I've worked out, okay, that £1 is the same £1. Okay, so in effect, there is a similar social action, and the social action is between the person behind, okay, who shared this, and let's say you, okay, and the money vector happens between, okay, and this is the £1, and it's a vector, okay, these are vectors, and they're all going forwards in time. Now it looks like a different thing, but that's just its relative temporal condition. It means that any moment that is between us, between the person in the past and you is £1, and between you and the next person is the same £1. It's the same £1. And so this starts becoming a mathematics of our social cohesion. Because remember, the decision that you're watching this, and you started to watch this, is because this person shared it with you. It's not because you made a decision to watch this. They've made the decision for you to watch this, and you've agreed with them. You have aligned yourself to them, and because you watched the first part, you went, okay, I agree with you, and now you have that £1. But you have that £1 immediately at that point. But what we're doing with our traditional economic is that we would look at that transaction point. So, I'll buy this from you. Oh, okay. I'm going to give you knowledge. I'll give you this video, and you give me £1. Yeah, we're not interested in that. We're saying, I watched this video, I think this is good, I think you're going to like it. And there's an evaluation, and actually the person who's making that decision for the first part is actually the blue person. Okay? And this red person, it's only once you watch the first part do you watch the second. Okay? And so you're going to be making the decision for the next person. And then they're going to watch the first half, ooh, the first part, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah. And then they make their decision. And then they're watching it. Alright? So this moment, this money of £1 is a vector in time. And it's the same £1 that you received will be the same £1 that you will pass on. And so at any moment, like now, it is in play. And we're in it. And the whole point about these methods is to almost like focus in and concentrate on the specific moment, our social moment. Okay, and expanding it enough for you to be reflexive in your condition and the person in the past, apparently, actually you, and the person in the future, oh, actually you, you're all yous, okay? All at the same moment, and me, at the same moment as we progress. so that when we enter into the third part, there's enough freedom for us, okay, because I do not know what is going to be happening. And I hope, I'm kind of telling you about things that I've kind of understood. What I'm trying to do is combine them, at least conceptually, so that you might go, I think I can see how this can work. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we aligning ourselves with money flow? It's not just a pound. Remember, if it's been like, for example, let's be creative here. If I manage to successfully produce, or you, okay, somebody better, or somebody that you know, all right, produce a video that explains this, encapsulates it, maybe has animations, whatever it is, that actually gets to 1 billion shares, okay, and everybody's put in a pound, that's £1 billion. 30 steps. So if people did it in 5 minutes, that's only, I don't know, less than 3 hours. Okay, so if we did a little video that was 5 minutes and, okay, let's say 10 minutes, whatever, okay, or even per day. If you watch something and at the end of that day you went, well, I'm going to share this, all right, and the next person looks at that day and then decides to share it, adds their pound. 30 days, 1 month, we have 1 billion people and 1 billion pounds. Brilliant, okay, but why? Okay, each person's only got a pound. What is the point of that? Well, the point is, if we've got £1 billion and everybody at the end of this, we've got 1 billion people, £1 billion, they all give it back to, well, you can't give it back. That person's gone. He's in the past. What do we do with the money? And we direct it towards a future objective. So so for example, if this got up to like 1 million people and £1 million, well, yeah, let's pay somebody. Out of all those people, surely there's somebody that can produce a better video of this, an animation that explains this, encapsulates this, and we give them £1 million. Why? Because that could generate 1 billion if it works. Okay, so that's what it's about. Now, you may think, well, is that just about this video? Well, about anything, whether it's about Rousseau, or whether it's about an article, or whether it's about environment and growing trees. Okay, we're distributing money, increasing the number of people, so that's like crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, and we're finding the right people to move on. That's the bit that's important, to move on. So it's a kind of social, organic sharing, but we need to have this kind of presence. If we're not listening in the right way, if we're just going, oh, it's just this thing, blah, 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 and passing on, you'll be passing on rubbish to your friends. No, you don't want to be doing that. You want to be passing on things that you think are valuable. So the person that gave this to you thought that this is valuable, okay? Thought it was valuable. You can have a look at their values and go, oh, actually, it's only a 5. Oh, okay. I actually thought it was an 8. Oh, so they were right in sharing it with me. They've improved the audience, okay? And if you share it forward, you try and find somebody that really is going to appreciate some aspects of this, okay? And you might get it wrong, but that's the risk, okay? And we're trying to create this, and we're really, in the third part, really getting into this so that I am free to explore what this means, right? It would be really good for us to go into this zero social distance to see if we can really intensify our actual existence, you personally, okay, so that you really, when you see your friend again, you'll go, that was cool. I mean, super cool. And I don't mean as in, I am cool, which quite evidently I am not, but it's that there's something going on here which your friend saw, which is valuable. That's the most important bit. So when the person that you share it with comes back to you and goes, yeah, okay, that's really good. That it's your values, okay? There's something that you see in this which is important, okay? And I need to be able to, I love to have the opportunity to explore why, what's going on here, and share with you why I think potentially this goes in the direction of global unity. Okay, that's a big claim, okay, but it's not a claim because I'm not a visionary. I'm not going to vision something, follow me. No, that's their old system, okay? This is something that you start to see. You start going, look, if this works and that works and this works and that works and that works, wait a minute, are those the pieces? Yes, and then it becomes easier for us to understand this, especially if we're practicing these things. If it's just a bunch of theories and ideas, fine. But if we practice, so that's why you're being asked to share this. So we're now past the 20 minutes. It looks like each of them are half an hour long. you're going to make a decision now whether anybody's popped into your head that you go, they might be interested in this. Okay? Might be to do with education, might be to do with academia, it might be to do with math, somebody can mathematize this, it might be to do with the money flow, because I spent a reasonable amount of time talking about that. And you think, okay, I'm going to share this. Okay, and it's important that you make the decision now. And you go back to Sqale and you share it now. Why? Because then the next part you're going to be free. Okay, it will not depend. Your sharing will not depend on what you judge, because what you judge falls into the problems that these are trying to solve. You know, if you're in academia, the chances are you will think categorically. You will think in terms of maths in certain ways. You will have certain attitudes, and you will practice in certain methods that this contravenes. Or if you're in mathematics, you'll be like, I don't know about this, and it will contravene something. Or if you're in economics, you're like, whoa, okay, can this really work? Okay, well, I'll wait for the next part before I share this. And because of that, you're still allowing yourself the judgment. So if I am trying to get into a space, and I've got this, and I want to get to the space where I am free of judgment, then the people that are with me, that I'm sharing this with, need to be in that state too. And you absolve yourself almost of that responsibility of judgment by making the decision to share this now. Do you get what I'm saying? So that the person that you share this with will be with us. Okay, will be with us if they make the decision to pass the first bit and they go, yeah, I want to watch the second. That's up to them. That's up to them. That's their decision. They'll watch the first part because you've recommended it. But the decision that they'll watch the second is up to them. And then the decision whether they want to watch the third part, and if they say, yeah, I want to watch the third part, they will be with us here. But in order for that all to occur, we need to make the decision to share it before we see the third part. This has been fundamental to me. This has been, go and have a look at some of the videos. I mean, okay, they're quite long. It's 2 hours probably, because I kind of like work it out as I'm talking about it. That's always like a very quick summary of it. So this third part is going to say, well, okay, let's see if I can, and it will be half an hour, but it will be like from go. Okay, really, let's put it all together. And I will try to describe what I think. Well, why are we doing all this? Why are we picking all this? Why are we trying to do this alternative economic? Why are we trying to escape from silos? Why do we want a bunch of people, young people, to actually be enjoying their learning and going forwards in a kind of self-collected, self-organized state? Why should I be adopting zero social distance practice? Why? And we will, in the third part, I will be not assuming, because you'll be watching it, you are doing this. You are doing this. And let's see if we can't quite do the fiction thing with this particular structure. We will be in A state. Everybody, if you do this and share this before the end of this, we will be in an A state. Okay? You might need a nudge. A friend of yours from the past will go, oh look, you thought it was an 8 or 9. Have you shared it? And they can see on the Sqale app whether you've shared this or not. And if you haven't, they'll go, oh, no. You thought it was an 8 or 9. Do you want to share it forward? Oh, yeah. The phone rang, I got distracted, I forgot. And then you share it. Fine. Okay. But for an A state, it means, no interruptions, value it. Well, obviously, you can do whatever you want to do. But share it, and then watch the next part with us. Okay, all of us. Okay. Okay, yes, right. Yeah. Well, I think we're ready. I think you've had time to kind of think about it. And okay, that's it. Let's stop it there. Cool.